It's the second largest country on Earth, and is it cradling some of humanity's biggest secrets? And is the government there trying to keep it quiet? From Canada's Stonehenge to ancient concrete, and even talk in Washington of a civilization long before ours. It's all coming up, and be sure to stay tuned till the end, because there's always a big finish. British Columbia is, without a doubt, one of the most stunning kaleidoscopes of natural, rugged, breathtaking wonder. It's impossible to encapsulate its unending beauty. There's all kinds of natural distractions, which is why no one really cares to look beyond the mountains, trees, beaches, and valleys to see pieces of our long-forgotten and collective history. It's amazing what lurks beneath the surface of the water. In Haidi Gwaii, just off the west coast of British Columbia, is one of the most spectacular places on Earth, home to the sacred white kermode or spirit bear, found only in the Pacific Coast rainforest. They are guardians of the spirits and thousands of years of history. But along its many island shores and inside newly discovered caves is evidence people lived here well over 13,000 years ago. And at the bottom of Juan Perez Sound, evidence of large fishing weirs, a simple but sophisticated method of catching fish that's been duplicated for eons. The site dates back almost 14,000 years at least, before the last great rise in sea levels. The entire west coast of Canada is littered with petroglyphs, many sharing similar imagery as others from all over the world. But those public comparisons are never made. An interesting point of coincidence. Now, the First Nations people who've always inhabited this land are renowned for their spectacular totems. Except this one was found in Siberia. The Shingar idol is said to be at least 12,000 years old, made just after the last ice age. These are more modern totems, but these ones are found in Mongolia. And these ones are from British Columbia. Clearly the cultural connections are significant, but the question is, did the cultural crossovers occur before or after the Younger-Dryas? And is there more evidence out there? Well, this megalithic spiral of unknown age was found in a lake near Nelson, British Columbia by a drone operator. Now, its final purpose is unclear, but it likely would have been used for something like trapping fish, similar to the ancient weirs that were found up in Juan Perez Sound. It's simply of a much different design, if in fact that's what it is. But the spiral, like so many other ancient paintings and carvings all around the world, well, it shares the similar iconography for different purposes, including this one in the American Southwest. Now, a large rock positioned at the entrance to this little cave allowed a beam of light to travel across the spiral, accurately marking the solstice and equinox for thousands of years. An amazing degree of knowledge and sophistication to create something so simple that worked for so long, and there's more than one of them. The mounting evidence of people in North America for as much as 50,000 years or more is building all the time. The American Southwest is also where these footprints were discovered, in White Sands National Park, dated back to at least 23,000 years ago, 10,000 years older than assumed by most mainstream historians when people may have crossed over from Siberia. And this is where the trail of ancient footprints leads back to British Columbia. On Calvert Island on BC's west coast, south of Haidi Gwaii, researchers made an amazing discovery in the clay. They found footprints, and what makes them so interesting is they were a mixture of adults and children, like the ones in Arizona. These ones were barefoot, and they'd likely gathered around a fire. Even toe imprints are still visible. Now, the footprints dated to over 13,000 years old, again older than the Younger-Dryas Event, when the glaciers covered most of North America. Now, there were parts on the west coast of Canada that were not covered by glaciers, but the evidence that people had been living in this region before that cataclysm continues to grow. Like dust on a chalkboard, there's evidence always left behind. As you move over the Rocky Mountains and eastwards towards Alberta, you'll fly over oddities like this stone circle atop a mountain in the Chilcotin. There's no definitive explanation other than a typical, it's probably a natural formation. But by the time you reach the lowlands of Alberta, there's no more denying what's there was made by humans, and the only question is when. One of the most amazing, bizarre, and then subsequently disappeared mysteries is what was found at the bottom of a river when they were building a bridge near Edmonton, Alberta. While they were dredging the river to sink pilings for this bridge, construction crews found a huge anomaly, a giant concrete block of some kind. The problem is, where they found it, the block was beneath the riverbed, 30 feet below it. There has never been any major construction projects in this area before, let alone beneath the bed of a large, fast-moving river. So how did it get there? And where did it come from? Officially, it was deemed too big to move and was apparently just left in place, covered up, and forgotten. But if it was concrete like they say, it doesn't mean that it wasn't ancient. Now, it's not to say that this is connected, but it is an interesting point of reference. On the floor around Göbekli Tepe, the oldest known structures on Earth, shows evidence of possibly being made from an ancient concrete, possibly with lime, which is a problem. In order to make quicklime for concrete, you need to generate heat over 900 degrees. That's a highly sophisticated technique, one that should not exist to make ancient concrete for another 5,000 years after Göbekli Tepe was built. Officially. So where did the knowledge come from and how was it lost? And maybe the road back to helping solve this mystery leads back to Canada. Perhaps one day that massive concrete block in Alberta will be properly investigated, but thankfully there are lots of other mysteries nearby that can't be covered up with dirt. Is this Canada's Stonehenge? What you're looking at is one of the oldest sacred monuments on the face of the earth. This sacred circle, or so-called medicine wheel, south of Calgary on a lonely, windswept hillside. The rocky cairn at the middle is surrounded by radiating spokes, 28 in total, coming from the center. All of it is encased in another rock circle around the spokes. The Blackfoot First Nations here says it has been here for many thousands of years, but the experts say only about 5,000, roughly the same age as Stonehenge. Despite its age, it still accurately can mark the solstice, just like other megalithic markers all over the world and in North America. What's interesting, 2/3 of all of these sacred stone circles are only found in Alberta and the neighboring province of Saskatchewan. While the design is used in other parts of the world, it's unclear what is the common link between them, and the oldest one of these sacred circles isn't too far away, just south over the border, which puts Canada's estimated age of these circles into question. The Bighorn Medicine Wheel in Wyoming is the largest sacred circle of its kind in the world. Now, these circles of knowledge represent one's interconnectivity and awareness of the natural world. Some legends say the sacred circles were built with the help from the little people of the prior mountains. Just like the many stone circles in Alberta, this one is officially said to be as old as the Great Pyramids, or Stonehenge, about 5,000 years old. But the Native American people, who have lived here for eons, say this circle could go back at least 25,000 years, which is not only of a similar age to the footprints discovered in Arizona, but also a mostly forgotten discovery in a cave near Canada's Arctic Circle. The Bluefish Caves were first brought to the attention of the West by First Nations peoples in the 1970s, thanks to Canadian archaeologist Professor Jacques Cinq-Mars. Now, he found evidence of human habitation in the caves going back 25,000 years, more than double the previous estimates from the arrival of humans during the outdated Clovis migration theory period. He found evidence of human habitation in the caves going back 25,000 years. That's more than double the previous estimates for human arrivals during the outdated Clovis migration theory. While the professor suffered criticism from the academic community, he was eventually vindicated, so we know people have been here for much longer than once presumed. So the question is, did our human ancestors living in Canada develop more sophisticated building techniques than just living in caves and making stone circles? Well, it would seem so. One of the most interesting and virtually ignored potentially megalithic marvels in Canada is the area here around Cypress Hill in Saskatchewan. These are some of the only known photographs, and the public cannot access this area. But the blocks are so amazing with the degree of intricate consistency. Considering the barren landscape surrounding it, the area was wiped clean by receding glacial ice more than 12,000 years ago. But the apparent pot marks in the rocks, very similar to what you'll find all over the world, seems to indicate these were not placed here accidentally. In the neighboring province of Manitoba, a gift from Google has questioned the region's historical origins, showing us things we'd never know was there otherwise, like these strange patterns in the ground. It's unclear what left them or why, but they seem anything but natural. And just south along the watery border from Manitoba, well, there are other mysterious structures of a different kind. Beneath the very deep waters underneath Lake Huron and Lake Michigan are ancient rock formations thousands of years old. Rock formations that could indicate they were used for helping corral animals and other means for hunting, or perhaps for ceremonial purposes, or other significant markers. While they are still being studied, there are others out there under deep water that further supports the idea that humans were here long before the last glacial ice caps receded. And the farther east you go once you get back on dry land, well, some of the megaliths appear even more ancient. These are apparent dolmens spread across eastern Canada and its Atlantic region. How they were made or by whom is unknown. Officially, they're not classified as anything, because that would change the established narrative for the country's official timeline for habitation. But these look remarkably similar to dolmens found all over the world. Except when they're discovered in Canada, they're always a natural formation. As the academic world gets accustomed to the idea that the Americas were populated long before the last ice age, the talk in Washington is now about who was here before us, and possibly still is, and the rumbles are getting louder.
Some of the people that I've been talking to in the Pentagon have told me that they think there is strong evidence to suggest that there was a previous civilization on this planet. And one of the things that's been suggested to me is that there might have been a civilization that has shared this planet with us that never left.
Thinking about how to end this video, I thought it was most appropriate to bring it back to the wisdom of the west coast of British Columbia.
The term Hishukish Tsawak, it means that everything is connected. All things are one, like the rain and the snow up in the mountains, and how all those things from the top of the mountains connects us to the ocean. So, that's where many of the teachings come from, are the laws of nature. And one of them was that Mother Nature will provide for our need, but not our greed. And leaving it, practicing that for our future generations was very important. Like my grandmother and my grandfather used to say about when you make decisions based in respect of the creatures, the water, and all the environment here that we all have to live in, you'll find there will not be many things that will go wrong.
I'm Sean. Thanks for watching. I've included a bunch of helpful links if you want to learn more. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. I have great new material coming all the time. Be sure to share your comments. I always love to hear what you have to say. Stay tuned. There's another great video coming up next.